The moment we started, it's that community that's created immediately. We have an audience. And it was great. It was great. I know I got sort of choked up singing, but that's okay. And I just found all of the singers that we brought together. This was really special. It was really magical. Well, it evolved from different pieces of the puzzle. So the Cabaret Connexion started with an exchange about singing jazz in Paris. And it didn't quite evolve toward cabaret because jazz is its own thing. So yes, you have jazz singers who do cabaret and cabaret singers who are a little jazzy. So when we realized that it wasn't going quite where we each all wanted to go, I rethought the whole process. I think my song shop is a place that a lot of my ideas come out of, because every week I'm working with singers who are professionals, semi-professionals, advanced amateurs, and their desire to learn more, see more, and connect to other people. So I think what happened was the folks from Song Shop were ready to go with me to Paris. And that made it possible for us to really create the connection last year in Paris. And meanwhile, the French are getting to know each other. They didn't know each other before. They were all in different little circles, little circuits. So getting them together it's an ongoing process. And it's interesting about the French. It's very true for the most French that I've met. They want to have the relationship first before they make a project together. Americans, we make a project out of which we develop relationships. It's an interesting little difference. So being able to take the time for them to create the relationships so that they can create the project from their end. But I'm a little bit 2 feet in both cultures. And I'm very American in I'm going to do it, I'm going to organize this, I'm going to get people to do this with me. And the French are a little blown away by that. I've found a few. Someone like Clotilde she's very American in this way, that she'll grab the bull by the horns and go for it and grab people. But it's a process and it's evolving. I think the more I've learned about people's thoughts about cabaret, it was shocking to Mylène, Launay, when we were trying to pull together the Paris conference, to have the owner of the Lapin Agile, the man you interviewed, to say le cabaret est mort, to tell us that cabaret is dead, that it's dying. And he does moderate that statement by saying, there has to be a new generation. But you have to figure out, how are we going to get that new generation? And that's a project that of its own. We have some young people from France here. We have a few young singers from the States. We want more, and that's going to take more work. Not because they're not interested. In fact, a lot of the Chicago singers that we met who are in their 20s, the biggest problem is it's the height of the musical theater season and they're all in a show, one place or another. So we have now 10, 12 young people who would have died to be part of this, but they're in rehearsal, that sort of thing. But I think figuring out how to connect to those young singers and actors who want to do this. The other thing from past experience is a lot of people are doing cabaret without knowing that that's what they're doing, right? They're performing in an intimate way. They're being very personal. They're one-on-one. And then you say, "Oh, you're doing cabaret," and they go, "Oh, what's that?" so we have to kind of figure out to help define it. The roundtable discussions should be interesting. I'm curious to see how they might evolve. So I know that we've had also. Someone else had said, Barb Younger, I think, actually, when I met her last week for the first time, was saying that cabaret is not part of any media perspective, you have your jazz magazines, and you have your theater, and you have your voice stuff. So we'll have to see if we can't get more of the... I'm curious, for example, how could we get a study of cabaret in the university? You have jazz studies. It took decades to get jazz studies to be an academic subject. Why not cabaret studies? Right? So Chicago is a big part of what makes this happenable. Can you say that? Chicago is a place that a lot of creative people come to do the work. I used to say, because I was in New York for 8 years, you go to New York to be famous, but you come to Chicago to do the work. In part because Chicago is an easier city to survive in, to live in. You can find your day job and still afford rent, and still afford your voice lessons, and still afford taking your acting classes. And one of the other common sayings about Chicago for the theater folks is you put 3 actors in a kitchen and you're going to have a new theater company. So the idea of collaborating, getting together, being able to form partnerships, I think it's easier here than in a lot of other places. And at the same time, we're big enough. We're a big city. So we have lots of possibilities, lots of choices. And you can find the burlesque people who really know how to do it. Kyle Hustet's class on burlesque today was just phenomenal. And there's a craft to doing it. So having enough of a concentration for people to get together and be able to form these different kinds of training centers, different experiences that people share. I think for me, Chicago has a certain pulse that has really made it possible for me to gather people together. Something like the Chicago Cabaret Professionals doesn't exist exactly the same way in New York. There's MAC, but it's interesting that MAC was founded by the club owners, right? Not the performers. And the performers are members, but so it's been driven here by the performers. And so when we founded Chicago Cabaret Professionals 20 years ago, the conversation started almost 21 years ago, it was possible to do that, to bring a bunch of soloists, a bunch of divas, a bunch of egos into one room and talk about how do we create a scene, how do we support each other, how do we define this art form, how do we help other people know and appreciate what this art form is. So I feel like a lot of what the Cabaret Connexion is doing is a outgrowth of 20 years of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals, 15 years of my song shop at DePaul School of Music. It's a combination of my travels and my connections to Paris. I feel like I've sort of, what is it when what's the expression? To pull out all the cards, you know, what everybody owes me, right? It's not quite the right word, but all of my relationships in music and theater I've pulled on all of my relationships within the French-speaking community and the Francophiles here in Chicago. I've pulled on all of my, whatever I know from all of those different types of experiences to make this. And it's, for me, pretty unique because it's the first time I could do that, pull it all together that way. You know, it's interesting, one of our French guests today said, your performance is what I can produce in France, because there's something about how I perform that's very inflected by my work with the French repertoire and probably something about what I grew up with, what I saw as a kid, Yves Montand doing his music hall shows, or Piaf, and the way she would be. It's different from the Americans. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it. I mean, that's one of the things that we're exploring this week. So one of my dilemmas is that I don't sing very many songs in English, and I've never been particularly comfortable to put together the American songbook show. I feel much more in the French repertoire, and so that's a challenge, but in this context it works. So in this context it gets its due. So I don't know if that quite answers the question, but it's a bit that I've had folks here who would say, well, why do you sing so much in French, or why don't you sing in English, or nobody here is going to understand you. And I'm going, I don't think it's a problem of understanding. I think I've never lost an American audience, right? But I think other people hearing about it think, how would you do that? How would you sing in this foreign language and still keep your American audience? I have high school students who come, first of all, they've never seen a cabaret show in their life. They don't know what they're in for when their teachers say, we're going to see Souvenirs of Paris 1950. I've never lost one of these high school audiences. They get it. It's not rocket science. It's communication, and they get it. And that's what I want us to appreciate about cabaret, is that it doesn't really matter if you understand all the words. There's a human being on the stage who's giving you themselves, and they get it. And I think that's totally possible in any language. Well, I'm getting older, so I'm not going to say, when I grow up, I'm going to be famous. I think my dream is to do what I'm doing. I really, to live it, to do it, to be able to continue to do it, to continue to build the collaborations. I love the people who are in the lobby right now. I adore every single one of them, and I want to work more often with everyone in some way or other, be on stage with them, share musical ideas, theater ideas, go with them to France. That's all part of it. There are other projects. Jason knows I do vocal canvas concerts, which are very much relating to artwork, so it brings in a whole other dimension. And I have a musical theater piece that I've been writing that I would like to have some time to get back to, that's based on the music of Gabriel Fauré and turning it into an American-style musical. A bit of a challenge, but set in the 1880s. Imagine the luncheon at the boating party come to life. Right? So I have all of those kinds of things that I continue to want to work on, but I'm doing my dream. I don't know what else I would be doing. I just can't do it alone. So today has been a day where I've felt like, a big, huge sea tide came in and raised all of us up. So it's been pretty incredible. No problem.
No, the first toast was to our French friends for coming all this way, and to a wonderful week in our first Chicago Cabaret Connection. Un moment. Attention. Where's Faye?
Right here.
There she is. Where? Faye Prince. I'm only half kidding when I say this is her fault, because it was her idea that we should try to bring cabaret masterclasses to France, and that was 3 years ago. And this is what came out of my research about how do you do that. And then she said,
One thing to ask it.
she said,
Another thing to do
it. Right. Yeah, don't ask me.
Me anything else.
And Alex has been a linchpin for bringing people from around the U.S. I can't say enough about how excited I am that Cheryl Grant and the other filmmakers are involved with us, and it's just an incredible confluence of ideas and people, and the conversation is now.
Well, cabaret came late for me,
it never even dawned on me to do my own act because I was an actress, and I had come up through those ropes. I went to Cincinnati Conservatory, moved to New York, and I had been an actress probably for about 20 years. And a man named Wiley Howsam at Joe's Pub was putting on acts. And he said, Faith, you should do an act. He was working under George C. Wolfe there. And I said, really, me? And he goes, yeah. And he said, I think we should get a deadline and do a date. And that's when I met Alex Rybeck. And Stuart Ross, who had written Forever Plaid. I had known him for years, and he was the other one sort of talking in my ear because I would tell stories at dinner parties. And he said, you should do all your stories that you tell at dinner parties. And I was like, really? And he said, yes. And then I got Daisy Prince, Hal's daughter, to direct it. So I had a really great team. And I kept saying, you guys got to tell me what to say now. You know, I'm an actress, I do scripts, but I don't. And I got out there. I think I scared them because I would go off script and go around. I could see them pacing in the back, and then somehow I'd work my way around and come back onto the script that we had sort of set. And then we recorded it live from Joe's Pub. And the first time I turned to my husband because he did it with me, and he's a trumpet player. And I said, why didn't you try to talk me out of this? This is really hard, and I'm doing it live for the first time. He said, oh, you got this. And I was like, but it has been the most cathartic experience. And I think that's why I love teaching it, because people who never have done this, it changes their lives too. And so cut to about 10 years ago, 2008, something like that, Alex said to Irv Rabel, who was doing the Yale Cabaret Convention, Amanda McBroom fell out. He said, why don't you ask Faith? And I said, Faith doesn't teach. And then I got up there and they couldn't shut me up. I actually had a lot to say. And I love people so much. So I really feel actually this has been my purpose, because I have such a great love for cabaret, and I kind of came in the back door in a different way, but that's why the form is so great, because it can take anything. It can take storytellers, it can take jazz, it can take a combination, it can take theater people coming through the back door and doing it. And it is a different form. You're not playing another person, you are yourself, but it is a persona of yourself. Yes, I met Claudia Hommel at the St. Louis Cabaret Convention, and I loved her so much, and we just started talking and sort of sharing ideas, and I knew she had been from France, and selfishly, I always wanted to go to France, and I had never been. I actually have been since then. I went to Paris last summer, but I said to her, why don't we do some classes in Paris? You know, I said, don't Parisians love cabaret? Broadway, anything? And she said, you know, that's a good idea. Let me see what I can work on. And so that's when the Cabaret Connexion in Chicago happened. She actually brought them here. And now we have so many people. I think there's 46 students from all over the globe. What could be better?
Hi, I'm Jeffery Lyle Segal from the Times Square Chronicles online, and I'm here with Alex Rybeck, who is one of New York's most dashing and talented cabaret musical directors and coaches.
Dashing.
Through the
It's
snow.
pretty spiffy.
Thank you. Well, great minds think alike. So, and we think alike about cabaret too. I've enjoyed hearing you play, hearing you teach this week at the Chicago Cabaret
Connexion.
Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. Connexion. We will all get our
Yes,
French down by the next year, by the time we go to Paris to continue this exchange of culture and information. So you and Broadway star Faith Prince, who are something of a working team.
We were a teaching team this whole week, and we've taught many master classes together before, so yeah, we have a nice
You speak each other's
symbiosis.
language.
Yes.
And what you and Faith seemed to bring was a common sensibility about what makes for great cabaret performance.
Well, we both come from the theater, so we have that sort of orientation, and we both believe that cabaret is a lyric-driven art form.
So it's an acting exercise first and foremost.
Exactly.
So I know Faith had the singers present their songs first as monologue to make sure they understood the words.
Yes, a lot of singers, when they learn a song, they jump very quickly into the music. And they don't always pay a lot of attention to the lyrics. Almost it's a secondary thing. You know, they're so anxious to sing. And my mentor, David Craig, used to tell singers, sing less, think more. So for me, the most interesting singers are the ones where there's always something going on underneath the lyrics. And they've really spent a lot of time thinking about the song and what it's saying and why they're saying it. And there's a real personal investment in the message of that song.
And as a composer lyricist myself, I appreciated your attention to the minutiae of the lyrics. It's not just the big words, it's little things like prepositions and conjunctions. He said but here, not and it means a different thing.
Right. Well, I'm a songwriter also, and we sweat over every syllable and every punctuation. And if you have a good piece of material, if it's by Stephen Sondheim or Johnny Mercer or Oscar Hammerstein, those people, those writers, they knew what they were doing. And you change their lyrics at your own peril, I believe. So yeah, sometimes people are a little sloppy learning things. So yes, I tend to be a bit of a dictator as far as, is that really what it says on the music? You might want to check that lyric again because the story doesn't make sense, or sometimes people change a word and then the rhyme is gone. And so yeah, detail, God is in the details.
That's right. And when I think about New York performers versus performers anywhere else in the world, I generally think about it in terms of polish. New York performers are so finely honed, so well polished, and yet you and Faith come here, and the first thing it seemed you wanted to do was strip away the polish and the artifice and get to the heart of the matter, the heart of the person.
Well, yeah, artifice, unless there's some reason, unless you're doing something very expressionistic, or there are styles of performance and styles of cabaret. I think I was thinking about that a lot this week because it was an international conference, Connexion. There is a tradition of cabaret, especially from Europe, that's very stylized. And but that's not the kind of cabaret, generally speaking, that Faith and I are involved with, in New York. There are people that do that sort of thing, but no, what we're really about is trying to get people to take the mask off and use a song to actually show us their heart. I think some people, they're attracted to performance thinking, oh, I get to put on clothes and I don't know, it's all about putting stuff on. And Faith and I, you're right, we're about stripping things away. And let's get down to what makes us all human beings. Because I think that's what attracts an audience to a performer ultimately. You feel that person on stage is singing your feelings that you recognize. And all that kind of, magic to do pushes people away, I think, a bit.
And this style of teaching, not to mention the level at which you and Faith function being top professionals, doesn't exist in Europe and doesn't exist in many other places. It's hard to find, isn't it?
I don't know that I was going to say, I don't know that I can complete, not knowing what's happening all around the world in every, classroom. I don't know if I could say that, but I will say, however, that I have done a lot of traveling in the last few years. Liz Calloway and I were teaching at a conference similar to this in New Zealand, and they clearly were not teaching about lyrics. They had very talented singers there, but they were all about wanting to show off all their vocal training, and they were very polished and very musical theater in kind of a cliche sense until we asked them to talk their lyrics. And then it was amazing, the wonderful personalities that came through and the performances that came out, but they weren't really taught to do that. And interestingly, the following year, the subject of that particular conference was called, it had to do with the text, like exploring the text, I think it was called. So Liz had told me after about the second day of teaching, she said, I think we might be having as much of an impact on the faculty as we are on the students. And she was right, because a lot of the teachers were sort of listening in, and I think they were surprised that Liz, who's known as a wonderful singer, as Faith is too, but that all that Liz really was focusing on were the words, and we said you live and die on those words. If you don't know why you're saying what you're saying, you can have the best voice in the world, but the song isn't really alive until there's something underneath it. So we're all about the words.
So this particular Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion, which is unique. It's the first time all of these international artists have been brought together in a cabaret conference setting. You've been involved in the Yale conference, other conferences where it was not the same international contingent, right?
Well, actually, Yale was an international conference, very much so.
Yeah.
There were people from New Zealand, Australia, Europe, South America, Canada, yeah.
But not France. So you didn't have 15 French singers.
This is true.
Okay.
This is true.
So the language difference, did it make any difference for you as a coach this week?
It was a challenge. I speak a little bit of French, very poorly. As the week went on, it started to come back to me, just hearing it, and I love listening to it. I'm certainly not fluent enough to coach in French, but when we had French-speaking people in class, if they were singing in French, we asked them to translate what they were singing so that Faith and I knew what the song was about. And some of the songs that they were singing I was familiar with. This evening in the showcase, one of the young women sang L'accordéoniste, which is a Piaf signature song, which I'm familiar with because I've played that song for other artists. So I knew what the story of that song was. And it's if you don't know the story, it just sounds like the same music over and over again. So it's helpful to know the story.
It is said that 80% of all human communication is subverbal or nonverbal anyway, non-specific to language. I think about Sid Caesar in your shows used to do all these wonderful impressions of foreign accent in gibberish, and in class observing some of the French people speaking, even though they would translate the song and then sing it, ultimately when you heard it without the translation simultaneously, you had to fill in a lot of mental blanks or be able to speak French very well. But I found it fascinating how easy it was to understand their intentions if you didn't understand the words.
I was just going to say, that's the importance of subtext. If the singer is really focused on communicating, they could be speaking Martian and we would get it. And many, many years ago, this maybe 30 years ago, in New York at a club called 88's, there was a singer from Argentina named Nacha Guevara, and I had never heard of her, but people were saying, oh, you have to go see Nacha. So I went, and I don't speak a word of Spanish, and her entire show was in Spanish, and I felt like I understood every song, because she was, as an actress, she was so clear, her focus was so clear, her intention was so clear. I had no problem sitting there for an hour. I felt like I understood every story she was telling.
So New York cabaret is pretty varied, and there are a lot of people who work in it. Do you think some of those people might have benefited more from being here and coming to Chicago and joining us?
I think these conferences are useful for anybody and at any level. We had people that were, who were just beginning to sing and beginning to perform. And some of them later in life. There's some people that are coming to this late in life. There are other people that are starting out. And then we also had people that were very experienced and very professional. But I think it's like we're all marinating each other, and we're all learning from each other. So I think the people that don't have much experience, obviously they can look at the more experienced people and see something to aspire toward. And I think maybe for the people that have been doing it a lot, after a while you sort of take certain things for granted. And when you watch people who are just starting this kind of process and they're struggling with it, I think maybe it takes them back to kind of fundamentals. And maybe, one of the things that was interesting for me this week is I did 2 afternoons of my own workshop. for pianists,
Right.
which I've never done before.
How was that experience for you?
Well, it was a little terrifying because it was something brand new, and I didn't know if I had something to pass on. I mean, I thought I might have some things to discuss, but I didn't really know specifically. I was sort of waiting to see who was going to show up and what their questions would be, or their concerns and issues. And both sessions, it was very lively. And we had, again, some wonderful Chicago musical directors that were as qualified as I would be to, be leading a workshop on accompanying. So it was really a roundtable discussion, and we took turns at the piano playing for each other. And
I was only in the first day workshop, and the end of that was a fascinating demonstration where several pianists rotated through the same song for a few bars, playing entirely different styles of music, but the same tempo, the same song, essentially how they would have handled it.
And the next day we did more of that. If I'm going to develop it, I think that's the way to go. I think for pianists it was very instructive for us to listen to each other, to have a singer that we could use as sort of a guinea pig. And the second day, Martha Crawford, who was one of the singers in the conference, she was very nice to volunteer her services. And there were actually several singers, but Martha in particular, I think she sang My Romance probably about 10 times while we all kind of fiddled with it and said, well, let's try it ad lib, or let's try it starting a cappella, and then, just different techniques.
Well, you just said the magic word about the art of accompaniment, which is to listen. And you talked a little bit about that. Maybe you could say a little bit more about the importance of that for a good musical theater or cabaret accompanist.
Yes, well, people, I think, tend to talk when they're discussing musicians and pianists in particular. The discussion always goes to how they play. And in fact, it should be how they listen.
How they listen.
Yeah, it's because some pianists there are pianists who can play rings around me in terms of what they can play. I think if I have anything to offer in this realm, if there's one reason why I work to the extent that I do, it's because I really love listening to a singer tell a story. And I feel like my job is to contribute to the singer's story. I have to be as familiar with the text of the song as the singer. I need to be singing the lyrics in my own head. And the way I often describe it, if the singer is projecting a kind of movie from those lyrics onto the audience, my job is like a film scorer who underscores the action of the film. So the lyrics are very important.
A story is certainly fundamental. There are lots of different levels at which you can enjoy any particular performer. I go to hear Anne Hampton Callaway, whose voice just sends me into ecstasy. And then I'll think of Julie Wilson, who I heard late in her life, who really could hardly still carry a tune, but she was such a great storyteller. And they were both great cabaret artists who brought a great deal of expression of what they had to the party. And I think all of the students here, wouldn't you agree, found their own particular mode of expression this week that was unique.
I think that's the journey that we're all on. And I would hope that everybody took away something from it in terms of how can first realizing that, that's my job if I'm a cabaret singer, is to tell a story and to be clear about the story and to have fun sharing it. And that there are different techniques that contribute, there are things that you do that are either helping the communication or impeding the communication. And what Faith and I think, try to do in our teaching is give people some critical tools so that as they leave a conference like this and now go out in the world and approach songs for the rest of their lives, they'll be thinking about some of those processes, some of the questions. If I'm looking at a lyric, what are the questions that I'm asking about? Is this the kind of song that I can stand up on a stage and people will believe the story coming out of me?
Well, hopefully next year you and Faith will continue to be ambassadors of our style of song storytelling when we take the Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion back overseas to Paris, and the Americans invade France. So thank you for being with us, Alex Rybeck, and thank you for joining the Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion ce soir. Hi, I'm Jeffery Lyle Segal with the Times Square Chronicles Online, and I'm here with Mylène Launay.
Yes.
C'est correct? C'est correct?
Oui, c'est ça.
One of the most beautiful and talented artists of cabaret from Paris, France, who has come to join us here in Chicago for a week-long educational and performance opportunity, the Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. Bienvenue à Chicago, Mylène.
Merci.
So, dites-moi, tell me what this week has been like for you.
It's been such a wonderful week. It's been very intensive. And I had a lot of emotion because I've been part of the first Cabaret Connection, the very first one in Paris. I had the opportunity of helping Claudia, Hommel to organize the first one. It was hard work because in Paris we were not expecting to do that.
How many Americans came to the first one?
More than around 20 people.
Oh, okay, a lot.
That was quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the most difficult thing was to organize the event with the French people, because we are
They're
not
too busy out drinking and
Yeah.
partying and
we are not so dynamic, you know. And the American people like to have some challenges, and they came in Paris with the positive attitude and way of
a sense of purpose. We came here to
Yes.
do something.
exactly, and we needed that. So I met Claudia Hommel, the singer.
Claudia Hommel, who is the organizer of the Chicago Paris Cabaret
Yes.
Connection from here in Chicago, but who was born in Paris to American parents and has this wonderful love of both places.
I met her in the street in Paris at the Petit Bal, Rue Mouffetard,
Okay.
where I sing.
Par accident?
I don't think it was by accident. She knows where she goes because
Okay.
she's looking for
So she was looking for
places.
you?
No,
Or
places where we sing
I
and
see, okay.
dance, and it's like an open air cabaret.
I see. What was it called again?
It's called Le Petit Bal, Rue Mouffetard.
Le Petit Bal Rue Mouffetard.
It's down the street, Mouffetard, Rue Mouffetard. It's one of the oldest streets of Paris.
Oh, Rue Mouffetard.
Rue Mouffetard.
Okay.
And here in front of the church and in the middle of the market, we sing every morning, every Sunday morning,
Okay.
with the accordionists. We give the words to the people.
Oh,
We
nice.
make the people sing together and we dance. You know, it's traditional ball where the people can meet every Sunday and enjoy life, like in the cabaret spirit, but it's in the street.
En plein air. in the
En plein
street.
air.
Okay. Well, that's great. And you didn't start as a singer, right? You began as a danseuse.
Exactly. You know a lot of things. I was a dancer. I started to sing in the street with the accordionists. I took some theatre lesson.
Acting lessons,
acting
theater
lessons
yeah.
too. And I'm fond of musicals. But I was not very, I did not know very well the cabaret world when I met Claudia. I was used to sing in the street, but I was not used to go to the cabaret.
A street performer is a very different thing.
Yes.
In here and there, you know.
Yes.
In cabaret, whether the venue hires you to do the act, or as here we create an act and bring it, still it's meant to be done in this intimate space that's inside with seating. It's more like being in a big living room with your friends.
Exactly. And when I met Claudia, I understood what was cabaret. And I fell in love with that because I think we need that nowadays. We need that to help people getting rid of the screens and all these negative things of the modern world. It can be useful, but not all the time. And the cabaret can be a breeze
A bridge for us.
a breeze for that. And
It's an interesting point that you make, because in the modern world, we have better communication through our electronic devices, but it's less personal. We are not en face.
Exactly.
We are not face to face.
But the human contact is
Right.
important. And I think cabaret can have avenir. It can still be alive because I can feel the young people need that too. They need that to express themselves. There are lots of talented young people who are ready for that. And the Cabaret Connection gives the chance to some of them. It's starting, it's beginning bigger. That's why I am so deeply emotional, because the first one was hard to organize, but we did it. We succeeded that. And the second one now, it's even bigger because it lasts double time. We have double number of people participating, and I'm confident for the future. I know people need that, and it will grow up. The trouble is that we need to find volunteers to help.
Everything
to
takes a
carry
lot
on.
of work. We had about 15 people from France, from Paris, and also other parts of the country, from Nice and was it Marseille? And,
Yeah, the south of France.
Yeah.
And
So how many of those people were at the first conference?
not so many. It was very
It's a new
hard.
group.
Very hard. And thanks to Claudia initiative,
Organizing all of this?
yes, the French people started to get together around this subject.
Yeah.
We are starting to have some exchanges. I met lots of people who are actually already acting in cabaret without really knowing it, or everybody doing something on his side. And thanks to the Cabaret Connection, we are starting to get all together, and we will get stronger little by little. And I'm very confident for the following part.
You think you might form some kind of organization just in France to help the French cabarets thrive?
We have
continue?
many efforts to do in France. It's getting easier here in the States because people are more willing to take risks, to be insecure. In France, it's more complicated, but we will do it because we always had exchanges between America and France that make us stronger on every side.
I was just talking to Alex about the classes that he and Faith gave, and how I think of French as very emotional people. Of course you are, but that you're a little bit more spontaneous sometimes, and that the people in America who do cabaret with songs from musicals, that song gives a certain structure that we have to respect. But still, their classes were focused on breaking down barriers and getting to the essential person. And in France, I think the cabaret is a little bit more presentational. It's more theatrical. It's more. It's not quite as much about revealing self. Or am I wrong about that?
I thought it was on the other way.
Really? So you think the French are more about revealing their soul, and we Americans are all about jazz hands?
That's what I thought.
I see.
Yes, but we don't allow ourselves to do that anymore. We used to do it before, but now we are getting into big shows because of the television, you know. But we used to be more intimate before, and thanks to the Cabaret Connection, I'm really hoping that this will come back in France too.
Well, I think a big problem in the world is a lack of intimacy. I think the misunderstandings that we are experiencing between people is because they are not face to face. They do not know each other intimately. They have pictures of each other made by the media, and they are separated by electronics.
Exactly.
If we in cabaret can use our talents to bring people face to face, face à face,
Face à face, tête à tête.
tête-à-tête, face à face, tout ensemble, all together, we can promote not just great art, but world peace also. Now, you like to sing American songs. You didn't come here singing French songs. You came doing some of the great American songs.
I could have sung plenty of French songs, but that was an exercise for me because cabaret has to get the people to their
core, their center.
To the most important thing inside themselves. So when you sing in a foreign language, it's a good exercise to go inside yourselves to find your truth. You know?
It's interesting. It's true.
Without hiding.
You can't hide
anything.
behind the words. You have to find the truth to communicate anything.
Exactly.
Because it's not your language. So what did you enjoy the most? Was there one thing you can say that you learned the most or enjoyed the most about being here with us this week?
The whole week was really very, very intensive, very emotional for me because of that, because I could see all what happened between last year and this year. I was so happy to see that more young people came from France. They came from far away, and every day we had such wonderful experiences. I'm really very thankful to Claudia and to all the volunteers, all the people here in Chicago who try to encourage this exchange. And I really hope that we will be able to carry on in France, because I'm a bit worried because it's not so easy in France, but I really hope we will be able to do something with all what we have brought. We will bring back from Chicago.
Well, j'ai confiance à toi. I'm sure that Mylène will be a major force in helping French cabaret continue and helping the Americans come over next year at this time to continue the troisième Chicago Cabaret Connexion.
We will be more than welcome.
Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. Merci.
Merci beaucoup pour votre accueil.
À bientôt, je crois.
Et à très bientôt.
Thank you very much for the Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. I'm Jeffery Lyle Segal. Good night. Hi, I'm Jeffery Lyle Segal from the Times Square Chronicles Online, and I'm here at the Chicago Paris Cabaret Convention with Jean-Claude Orfali, who is the premier pianiste from Le Lapin Agile, the premier and oldest cabaret in Paris. Welcome, Jean-Claude.
Thank you, merci, thank you.
Please tell us how it's been for you to be at the Chicago Cabaret Conference all week. Has it taught you something new about our culture as well as your own in cabaret?
It was very exciting, very rich in exchange, in friendship, to learn first people, human beings, music, different music. Maybe we know already, but we know it better through the people that play it and sing it.
Do you think that the greatest similarity between Chicago, United States cabaret singers and the French Parisian cabaret singers would be possibly in what we feel, why we come to cabaret, more than what we sing?
Well, it's my first travel to Chicago, as a matter of fact, and I do thank you for your warm welcome that we all had, all the French team had in here. And I can say that, yes, I can see that the term cabaret for Americans, it might be slightly different than the term cabaret in France. Because in France you've got the venue, okay, that is called cabaret artistique, where you have got music and you've got a certain style of music that have been played since a long time. It's essentially music with poems, sometimes music with to drinking songs, you know, to laugh, some humor, and so on. And when I came here, I found that singers are singing musicals, okay, mostly, and standards, and they call it cabaret. And I did understand that is two kinds of cabaret. The cabaret means you are performing for one performance. You create your performance, okay, one day, and not to go to a venue that you play, that you are hired every night to play there. We do have the same in France also, but we do have also venues. They are not a lot, but we do have venues like Au Lapin Agile, which is the oldest cabaret artistique in Paris, in France, and well, we have still this music since 1860.
And the cabaret looks very much like it did back then also, right?
It didn't change. They kept the same things in the same place, you know, with the same tables, with the same banks, and so on. And we play every night, but not Monday because it's off. Every night from Tuesday to Sunday night, starting from 9 p.m. to 1 p.m. in the morning. And we give 4 hours show with different artists. Everybody sings in his turn. We make a decor, kind of, you know, a table, and we share singing, you know, same song. And afterwards, every artist is coming up and singing his own songs, or the songs he chosen, whether of Léo Ferré, Brel, Claude Nougaro, Barbara, or whatever, okay. People that really wrote music with good words. Already.
We try to do the same here too.
Yes,
It's
sure.
difficult to get the young people who don't know the great songs from the past to pay attention to them. Do you have the same problem with the great French songs, Aznavour and Piaf, and the songs that they recorded, and older artists?
Yes, I mean, when you sing some songs, like in the Lapin Agile, I play the piano at the Lapin Agile. I am one of the pianists of the Lapin Agile. We are not only one pianist, but many pianists. And when we play at the Lapin Agile, we have some old songs like Aristide Bruant, for example. Even sometimes French young people don't know really this repertoire. Okay, so it's not a problem whether they discover this music, whether they know it already, and they come to drink, to laugh, to sing together, and to live this old ambiance that used to be at the beginning. Well, some young people, yes, don't know a lot of French repertoire, but I believe some of them come to discover, and some of them come because they like to know about it. So they do come to the Lapin Agile.
Just to be sure that everybody understands the distinction that you made, in Paris, the venue organizes the performance and presents it, whereas in the United States, mostly cabaret artists create their own shows, generally solo shows more than the group shows that they do there, and go to the venue and often floor-wall or hire the venue and do their presentation. So how do people get known by the cabaret to be invited to be in your performances? Do you have something like the equivalent we have here of an open mic? Do they have an audition? How do people get to be part of the Lapin Agile show?
For about this cabaret au Lapin Agile, we have already a team of artists that do this for a long time, but we sometimes have new talents, and they are chosen
Yes.
by the manager he has got a lot of experience, and
But do they come sing for him during the day, or
Yeah,
you have
he
an
asked,
open mic
yes.
night like we have here? Or?
no open night for this place, but he asked for an audition, and they come for an audition, and sometimes we are surprised by some talents. We didn't expect that this person is going to suit the cabaret, you know, with songs, with emotions the person brings, you know.
So you've been immersed for a week with us at
Yes.
the Chicago Paris Cabaret Conference with this wonderful cross-cultural interaction, 40 performers, 15 from Paris, the balance from the United States, exchanging style, taking classes in how to perform cabaret together. What surprised you? Did anything surprise you this week?
It was amazing. Amazing to be here. And first of all, as I told you before, that I do really thank all our friends from Chicago, American friends that received us with big
Open arms, as we said?
Open arms, yes, and organized a lot for us, and we felt really at home, and we have done a lot of new friends as well, and we discovered and we met a lot of very, very good artists that was directing these classes and managed the connection during this week. So what is wonderful is there was love and friendship between all the people. People were together to share something, to share music around the cabaret and its meaning, around music, around the songs. And that was the first thing that amazed me. Second thing is the talent and the quality of work of teachers, the different teachers that gave these classes, and also of the pianists like Alex Rybeck and Elizabeth Doyle, certainly, that were there, that they play wonderful. And there is, even if there is difference in music, you know, in the way you play between what we can do and what you can do in USA, this is an exchange. I love this, I observed, and we shared with friendship, with love, you know, all this. And we tried, I tried anyway, to learn from my colleagues and from all the participants, you know. So this is very important points for me.
I know our teachers, especially Faith Prince,
Yes.
put a lot of emphasis on the personal aspect of cabaret, that when performers come to cabaret, it is because we want to share ourselves very directly with the audience. Sometimes that's harder for people than it seems, although it doesn't seem to me to be nearly as hard for the French. I think that's something sort of essential to French cabaret. Am I right?
Well, I don't really know, but you know what? I think I understood more or less your question, but I see that we don't work the same way. Maybe we are not sometimes very precise, because cabaret also asks for spontaneity,
yes.
And emotions, and sometimes you take risk, you know, and you maybe lose this word or lose this note, but you are in the action, you know. And I see that I've got American friends, American musicians, you know, and I know how they work, but to be here and to see all American artists, singers, and musicians play with precision. I knew that, but I saw it here. Precision, and they are very good. They do the job, and it's rich, you know. Maybe because also of the musicals, which is very rich. You know, in France, for example, we don't have we don't know very well the culture of the musicals. I mean, it's not in every home that you find people singing musicals, but you can know some musicals, some songs from musicals in between as standards, you know. But here it's your own tradition, you know. You live with that. I know Sue, for example, that sings all the songs of all musicals. She's amazing, you know. Okay, this is a difference between us. But anyway, there is music and emotions that gather us around the word of the song, around the music, and because it's rich, you know, around sharing especially.
Yeah, if we do a song from a musical, especially if someone like Alex Rybeck, who is a respected New York musical theater director, plays the song, he will put a great deal of emphasis on the author wrote exactly this word. We have to sing exactly this word to say what the author meant. Whereas I think you're saying sometimes in their emotional exuberance, the French will just say whatever wants to come out.
Yes, sometimes it happens, yes, sure. As long as they are in the action, in the emotion, you know, and they transmit something. And I was also happy to meet Faith
Prince, who is one of our great Broadway performers.
Fantastic. How she gave the class, how she speaks, how she's very friendly, and how she's very good in what she does. You know, she knows what she's talking about, and she can do it. She tells you, do this, and she can do it herself, and she engages you. And how good Alex Rybeck is in, very cool, but he just give the advice, the right advice, in the right time. You know, we met also Dale, you can help me.
Dale Calandra,
Yes.
who is a teacher here in Chicago and director who co-directed the final performance tonight and also taught performance workshops for the students.
Yeah, I have fun with him because it was really theater. I've never had that, and I felt like I would like to do theater, you know. So I am pianist only, but I felt I would like to play, you know, because of him, because how he transmits this, how he gives you love of what he loves, you know, what he likes, his profession.
I thought what was very interesting about the conference classes for me is how every teacher worked very hard to get students to look at their work from a different perspective. There was no good, there was no bad, but wanted people to change their point of view so they would go away looking at work differently. Sometimes it was very serious, sometimes it's very funny. One of the French who is a wonderful man who is a little bit reserved was singing a very quiet love song, and Dale's class was trying to find something comic, so he made him make love to the chair. And it was remarkable for everybody in the audience, but remarkable for Jacques as well, because he's not the kind of guy who probably would make love to a chair anywhere else. So this is the kind of environment in which you can do this safely. Now, do you do cabaret workshops? I know Christian teaches cabaret over in Paris. And I was not able to take his class on movement.
It was
but
very good.
Is the approach different there?
You know, even
teaching?
if it's different, he has his own way. Like every teacher I met and I saw, because I was very, I tried to attend all the classes because I wanted to see everybody how he works. You know, it's not every day that you have got this opportunity to be somewhere with all these people and to see everybody how he works, you know, because it's very helpful for my own profession, you know. So everybody works differently. French work differently, and American works differently, but every teacher is different, you know. It's complementary. What surprised me, or what I can keep in mind, that when we talked with the Americans, for example, they said, I think it's Alex that said that there is no wrong, there is no right. Okay? No problem, we are here to do something together, to learn, to do better. And this is very good in teaching. That's a good way. I love this. I like this way, you know. You don't find everyday teachers like this. And otherwise, about cabaret, I think, yes, there is different approach, you know, but the connection made that we met each other, and I think it is a good thing to continue. To meet each other is like a festival, it's like a colloque, it's like, you know, a meeting for doctors, you know. Sometimes we are here also to exchange, to talk about our experience, about what we do, what we would like to do, what are the problems of our profession, how can we do better, and we keep it going on, and we get it more rich.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on. The Chicago Paris Cabaret Conference has been a unique international experience. There is no other cabaret conference like this in the world. It's the first time we've been able to bring together a group of international artists and to be able to share our various cultures and our experience with our national music and our love, our common love of all the music. So thank you, Jean-Claude, for joining us, and thank you
so much
viewing this for the Chicago Paris Cabaret Convention.
Thank you, USA. Thank you, Chicago.
Et alors, du coup, je rebondis sur ce que tu es en train de dire parce que ça a quand même été une des grandes questions de cette semaine. Qu'est-ce que c'est le cabaret? Et moi qui ai assisté un petit peu aux différents échanges, ce que j'en ai retenu, c'est que finalement, c'était pas une boîte si fermée, que les gens avaient envie de l'enfermer dans quelque chose parfois ringard, parfois pas très intéressant ou limité, mais que, comme nous le disait Paul, ce grand artiste de la scène londonienne, il peut y avoir le retour aux racines de ce qu'était le cabaret, à savoir quelque chose de pluridisciplinaire, avec des influences multiples.
Tout à fait, plus éclectique. Et je pense que quand même, la seule façon de maintenir le cabaret, c'est ça, c'est quand même de l'ouvrir à beaucoup de choses. Donc moi, ça m'est évidemment facile puisque j'ai déjà des influences diverses. C'est vrai que j'ai toujours mélangé les chansons françaises et les musiques du monde. Et dans le cabaret, ça fonctionne très bien.
Exactement.
Voilà. Pour moi, maintenant, actuellement, c'est plus facile dans les musiques du monde que dans la chanson. Je crois que quand même, les parents pauvres, tout au moins en France, hein, moi je ne parle pas des États-Unis, d'un pays que je connais mal, c'est quand même la chanson française, les parents pauvres, hein. Voilà. Mais en l'associant souvent à d'autres musiques, on arrive à caser les deux ensemble et à avoir quand même des engagements, puisque disons-le, il faut quand même avoir des engagements dans ce genre de boîte, quoi. Moi je le fais, c'est particulier, je ne suis pas à Paris. Je suis dans le sud de la France, mais qui a préparé quand même la zone où il y a le plus de salles de spectacle, le plus de cabarets. D'ailleurs, justement, pendant la guerre, les cabarets étaient tous partis dans cette région. C'est pour ça que ça s'est implanté quand même pas mal. Mais c'est vrai que le cabaret pur et dur, comme on a connu, comme j'ai connu dans mon adolescence, où on allait chanter, où il n'y avait que des chansons françaises, comme à Paris, je me souviens, l'écluse, tout ce genre de lieux, c'est très difficile maintenant, il n'y en a pratiquement plus de toute façon. Et par contre, en mélangeant avec de temps en temps un petit peu de musique du monde, même dans la même soirée, avant il y avait plein de numéros.
C'est ça, en fait c'était comme
cabarets.
ça avant.
Voilà.
Avant on avait
Voilà.
cette diversité.
Mais le problème
et
est dans le mot cabaret, parce qu'il y a les cafés-concerts, il y avait les pianos-bars aussi. Est-ce que le piano-bar est un cabaret? Pour moi c'était quand même un cabaret aussi. Hein, parce que finalement, il y avait un pianiste et tout le monde allait y chanter. Moi, je dois dire que ce sont dans les pianos-bars que j'ai fait mon initiation, et à la chanson et à la musique. On allait y chanter, même si on n'était pas professionnel, et on y rencontrait par contre des gens extraordinaires. Moi, j'ai rencontré Nougaro, j'ai rencontré tous les Brésiliens, on rencontrait des gens. Et quand même, ça s'est mélangé. Quand on disait à l'époque c'était les gens riches et les gens pauvres, mais là c'était pas les gens riches et pauvres, mais c'est les grosses vedettes avec les petits anonymes, comme j'étais à l'époque, qui avaient la chance de faire bien un bœuf avec Nougaro, des choses comme ça. Donc ça, c'est encore possible, pas avec les grosses vedettes, bien sûr, mais c'est encore possible ce mélange.
Et d'ailleurs, ça me donne envie de rebondir sur cette idée que ça a été un mot évoqué beaucoup, cette idée de communauté qui semble être en tout cas un des attributs du cabaret, c'est l'idée de communauté et de famille. Et du coup, tu évoques le fait que ces scènes puissent être aussi des espaces à la fois d'expression de gens confirmés et des espaces de tremplin pour des jeunes artistes. Donc toi, en tant que productrice, puisque maintenant tu as cette double casquette, quelle est ta vision de ce cabaret auprès des jeunes, de la jeune génération, par rapport à l'héritage d'un passé qui est très fort, très lourd, et la possibilité de construire une nouvelle forme?
Déjà, je crois qu'auprès des jeunes, c'est le mot cabaret qu'il faut changer. Parce que pour eux, le mot cabaret, il est ringard. Il faut bien le dire. Il est ringard chez les gens. Mais en fait, après, ils passent dans des endroits qui sont des cabarets. Mais pour eux, ce ne sont pas des cabarets. Même pas café-concert, ce mot on l'utilise plus. C'est des petits lieux de musique où il y a des groupes qui passent, et puis parfois ça peut être un chanteur, mais c'est quand même plutôt des groupes. Mais le problème, c'est que dans la jeune génération, le mot cabaret est ringard. Voilà, c'est ça qu'il faut changer.
Donc il faut redorer ce blason.
Il faut redorer ce blason complètement.
D'accord.
Moi, à mon avis, c'est ça. Maintenant,
et alors, si tu devais résumer en une expérience ce que tu as retenu de cette semaine à Chicago, parce que tu as eu l'occasion de faire un concert ici, que j'ai eu la chance de voir, vraiment très intéressant, magnifique. Qu'est-ce qu'est pour toi l'expérience que tu as vécue cette semaine qui résume parfaitement cet échange du Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion?
Je crois que justement, la connexion est intéressante parce qu'on n'a pas les mêmes expériences, mais je pense que les Américains sont intéressés par ce qu'on fait en France et la France est quand même intéressée aussi par ce que font les Américains, il faut bien le dire. Et je peux vous dire que ce que j'ai fait là, je l'ai fait que pour ici, je ne l'avais jamais fait. Mais Avant de partir, j'avais vu l'institutionnel de ma région pour d'autres raisons, pour d'autres groupes que je leur place. Et ils m'ont dit, oh, mais ce que vous allez faire là à Chicago, c'est fort intéressant. Quand vous revenez, venez nous voir, donnez-nous le compte-rendu et une vidéo. C'est pour ça qu'il faudrait qu'il y ait une vidéo.
Mais il y en a.
Et nous allons le faire. Voilà. Et ça m'a quand même étonnée. Parce que jamais j'aurais osé directement leur proposer ça.
Donc finalement, il y aurait peut-être la possibilité d'emmener cette expérience-là.
Et d'avoir des appuis au niveau de l'institutionnel, puisqu'il faut bien savoir quand même qu'en France, des sponsors privés, ben, on n'en a pas beaucoup, on n'a pas cette culture, et on est malheureusement obligé de passer par l'institutionnel. Et si l'institutionnel se met à s'y intéresser, peu importe les raisons, parce qu'il trouve que c'est historique, parce qu'on y revient, etc., peu importe, peut-être qu'il y aura une solution pour garder
pouvoir,
pour prolonger le
permettre de redorer le blason du cabaret et,
voilà.
et insuffler cet enthousiasme qu'on a vu ici cette semaine.
Ça m'a vraiment étonnée. Donc en rentrant,
on va essayer.
On va essayer.
L'année prochaine en France.
Voilà.
Merci beaucoup Françoise.
Merci Clotilde.
À très bientôt.
Merci beaucoup.
Donc Michèle Barbier, Patrick Pernet, nous sommes ravis de vous accueillir ce soir pour cette interview qui vient résumer cette semaine d'ateliers, de rencontres, de concerts pour le Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. Voilà. C'est une interview de 5 minutes, donc je mets tout de suite le chrono en marche, comme ça on est sûr de ne pas dépasser le temps. Alors, Michèle, Patrick, comment vous vous êtes retrouvés embarqués dans cette aventure? Racontez-nous un peu qui vous êtes, et d'abord, dans un premier temps, et comment vous vous êtes retrouvés ici à Chicago.
Comment on s'est trouvé dans cette aventure? Il y a un an, j'avais vu sur Facebook, sur la page de mon ami Jean-Claude Orfali, cette histoire de Paris-Chicago qui venait à Paris. Donc j'ai pris un contact avec Claudia Hommel, que je ne connaissais absolument pas et qui ne me connaissait pas non plus, et qui m'a dirigé vers une horrible sorcière qui s'appelle Mylène Launay, et qui m'a embarqué dans cette aventure. C'est une horreur. Une horreur, mais dont je lui suis très reconnaissante, parce que finalement c'était une belle aventure.
Okay.
C'est une belle aventure parce que cet échange de sensibilité et de création et en même temps de culture commune et d'enthousiasme commun entre des pays différents, de langues différentes, c'est absolument enthousiasmant. Je suis par ailleurs vice-présidente de l'association de l'Alliance francophone qui a pour mission de défendre les valeurs et la langue française dans le monde, etc. Et la langue et les valeurs qu'elle soutient, bien entendu. Et c'est à ce titre que l'Alliance francophone m'a envoyé ici. Et je trouve que c'est une très bonne expérience. J'espère qu'on aura une collaboration beaucoup plus importante l'année prochaine. Parce que les valeurs que l'on véhicule par la langue, finalement, ce sont les mêmes. Et ce qui est extraordinaire, c'est de voir cet enthousiasme des Américains pour la langue française, pour la chanson française, et nous, on est quand même fascinés par aussi la langue américaine et les chansons américaines. Donc c'est quand même, et c'est sur une même base, c'est une même base de créativité, d'enthousiasme, d'authenticité, et ça, je trouve que c'est ça qu'il faut mettre en évidence.
D'accord.
Alors j'ai embarqué mon ami Patrick avec lequel je travaille depuis 20 ans grâce à Clovis. C'est Clovis qui nous a présentés, tu peux dire pourquoi?
Il m'a présenté à Michel parce que Michel cherchait un pianiste, tout simplement.
Oui, mais pourquoi tu travailles avec Clovis?
Patrick, tu es grand pianiste.
Oui, merci. Alors, donc, moi je suis aussi arrangeur, j'ai un studio d'enregistrement, j'ai sorti une centaine d'albums depuis que je fais ça, voilà, et j'accompagne énormément de chanteurs. Et je revenais d'une tournée de 4 ans avec un groupe de country, et j'avais envie vraiment de me poser un peu. Et Clovis me rencontre grâce à un photographe, et puis il dit, toi, t'es marrant, tu pourrais m'accompagner sur mes spectacles. Voilà, donc c'est comme ça qu'on a commencé avec Clovis. Et très vite, il m'a présenté à Michèle, qui avait besoin de musique de cire.
C'est-à-dire que Clovis, moi je l'ai rencontré à l'atelier Bachet. Alors l'atelier Bachet, c'était un endroit absolument fabuleux à Paris, qui malheureusement n'existe plus depuis très peu de temps, depuis 1 an, mais où tous les gens du monde entier se rencontraient. Et avec vraiment une atmosphère d'échange. Alors on venait manger, chacun apportait un peu de sa tambouille, et puis on discutait, alors on rencontrait des gens qui venaient du monde entier et qui étaient sur la même ligne d'onde en quelque sorte. Et donc Clovis, quand il m'a présenté Patrick, parce qu'effectivement je cherchais un pianiste, moi je m'accompagne à la guitare, mais il vaut mieux que je le fasse pas. Moi je m'aime bien, mais c'est les autres qui l'aiment pas, je sais pas pourquoi. Mais et donc, et surtout Patrick est un superbe arrangeur. Il sait, j'arrive chez lui avec ma mélodie à la noix, et lui il en fait une symphonie, quoi. C'est extraordinaire. Et depuis, c'est vrai qu'on a fait quand même pas mal de spectacles ensemble. Et il y a toujours cette connivence, il y a toujours... Et alors chaque fois qu'on peut avoir Clovis avec nous, ça c'est le paradis.
Oui, donc Clovis, juste pour information, donc qu'on appelle le musicopathe, qui est un personnage complètement à part entière. Et du coup, en l'évoquant, ça me fait penser à une des questions centrales qui a été un point, un fil conducteur de toute cette semaine, c'est qu'est-ce que c'est le cabaret? Alors moi je vous ai vu performer, faire votre spectacle dans différents contextes, sur une grande scène, dans un appartement, vous étiez complètement à votre aise dans tous les contextes et tu évoquais ta capacité à être dans l'humour, dans ta façon de jouer, tu évoquais la musique de cirque qui fait partie de ton histoire, et ainsi que ton héritage de cette période que tu as travaillé avec Joséphine Baker, qui faisait ce pont entre les États-Unis et la France dans votre voyage. Pour moi, vous êtes complètement ce qu'on appelle des artistes de cabaret. Est-ce que je me trompe? Est-ce que j'ai raison? Et si j'ai raison, pourquoi, à votre avis, vous vous revendiquez être des artistes de cabaret? Et sinon, comment vous vous appelleriez?
Bon, pour
donc, oui, cette question du cabaret.
Être artiste de cabaret, le cabaret c'est quoi? C'est à la fois de la chanson, mais c'est aussi du visuel, c'est aussi du théâtre, parce qu'il faut parler aux gens. Ce n'est pas seulement se montrer et puis dire une musique, etc. C'est communiquer, ce qui signifie aussi avoir de la proximité. Alors nous, quand nous montons des spectacles ensemble, c'est toujours à partir d'un thème, où on mélange un peu tout. C'est-à-dire, il y a la musique, il y a aussi les textes, il y a la comédie, et puis quelques petits effets visuels, de façon à ce que ce soit toujours varié. Et c'est ça qui, à mon avis, est au cabaret. Et d'ailleurs, Patrick, avec les troupes avec lesquelles il travaille, notamment le bruit qui court, ils sont également très visuels. C'est un peu
vous avez vraiment ça en vous, quoi. Cet amour de mélanger les gens.
Si vous voulez, moi j'ai fait quand même 35 ans de cirque. Donc le cirque, c'est pour moi la meilleure école de spectacle qui existe.
Et c'était une vraie question qui a été abordée souvent, cette idée du pluridisciplinaire dans le cabaret, de la diversité des genres, et donc là vous l'avez dans votre héritage et dans votre parcours.
Bien sûr, parce que le cirque c'est ça, c'est la variété, c'est passer d'un numéro à l'autre, c'est de présenter des choses, et c'est pour ça que les spectacles de cirque marchent très bien.
Exactement. Et alors si vous deviez résumer à une expérience, à un moment, cette semaine, un moment où vraiment ça a été pour vous une expérience différente de ce que vous aviez l'habitude de vivre en France. Qu'est-ce que ce serait ce moment? Peut-être qu'il est différent.
Déjà, d'un point de vue musical, mélange américain-français, moi j'apprends beaucoup. J'apprends toujours.
Ouais.
Et j'ai beaucoup écouté, beaucoup regardé. Et je sentais aussi le respect mutuel aussi. Donc nous, on a une façon de faire, et les musiciens français, on a une façon de faire. Et moi, j'ai beaucoup appris, j'ai beaucoup regardé. et j'en sors grandi.
D'accord, ok.
Et moi, ce qui m'a beaucoup impressionné, c'est l'humilité des gens qui venaient dans ces stages. Parce que souvent, en France, dès que quelqu'un sait mettre 3 notes ensemble, pense qu'il est déjà professionnel, etc. Ici, je voyais des gens qui ont beaucoup de talent, qui ont déjà beaucoup de techniques et qui suivaient des cours, qui écoutaient vraiment les professionnels, qui avaient toujours ce sentiment de devoir toujours aller plus loin. Et ça, c'est quelque chose d'absolument fantastique.
Tout à fait.
Et je dois dire que les professeurs que j'ai rencontrés m'ont, moi aussi, appris beaucoup de choses, malgré mon grand âge, mes cheveux blancs et ma canne en bois. Mais c'est vraiment, ça c'est formidable. Et en même temps, on sent un enthousiasme. On sent un vrai dialogue, on sent un vrai élan vers l'autre, on sent un vrai respect de l'autre. Donc ça, c'était quelque chose de fantastique.
Donc si vous deviez, si on doit transposer l'année prochaine ce qui est en cours, d'arriver cette expérience-là à Paris, est-ce que finalement ce serait ça, cet enthousiasme, ce respect du travail et cette humilité et que vous voudriez transmettre? Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est possible? Est-ce que vous pensez que le public français sera prêt à avoir la même générosité que vous avez eue, vous aussi, en venant ici et en ayant l'ouverture d'esprit de venir vous confronter à un autre style de cabaret, à une autre façon d'approcher ce style? Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est transposable et comment vous pensez que le public français pourrait le recevoir?
J'espère que c'est transposable. Je ne peux pas dire parce que je ne suis pas l'ensemble du peuple français et des chanteurs ou des artistes français, mais je pense que tous les artistes doivent avant tout avoir à l'esprit qu'on a toujours à apprendre. Et surtout, ce qui m'a vraiment, cet échange, moi ce qui m'a beaucoup touchée, vraiment, c'est cet échange et ce respect des deux cultures, des deux façons d'aborder la musique, le spectacle, le cabaret. Et je trouve que ça, c'est vraiment à continuer et à amplifier.
Porter en nous le cabaret aussi, et c'est le transmettre. Comment le transmettre? On a parlé beaucoup, mais je pense que c'est avec cette joie et cette ouverture qu'on a vers les autres qui permet de transmettre facilement. Les gens voient, tiens, c'est bien ce qu'il nous dit, la façon dont on le dit, la façon dont on le vit, ça doit toucher les gens. Et cabaret, que ce soit cabaret ou autre chose, mais je pense que le cabaret c'est important parce que l'image du cabaret en France, ça peut paraître ce qu'on appelle ringard.
Oui.
Moi, je sais que j'ai des enfants qui me regardent, ils ne pensent pas à tout ça. Ils font aussi du cabaret. Et ils sont jeunes. Donc, c'est la joie de vivre.
Moi, je pense toujours à Joséphine Baker, bien sûr, qui me disait des choses extrêmement justes. Elle me disait, vous savez, Michèle, un artiste qui vient sur la scène, d'abord, on le voit. Donc, il faut qu'il ait le respect du public par sa tenue, et c'est à la première seconde qu'il fait rêver ou qu'il ne fait pas rêver. Ensuite, vraiment, c'était... Et ensuite, elle disait aussi qu'un artiste est là, non pas pour se montrer, mais pour donner. Et ça, c'est vraiment... je trouve que là, il y a eu cet esprit-là. En tout cas, dans l'enseignement, notamment de Seth Price, c'était tout à fait évident.
Je crois qu'on va en rester là. J'entends mon timer qui dit que ça y est, on est arrivé au bout des 5 minutes fatidiques.
Ah mais j'ai encore 45 minutes à dire.
C'est une belle façon de conclure. Merci Michèle, merci Patrick. Merci sur ces mots de... Bonjour, nous sommes ravis d'avoir ce soir les deux membres d'un groupe français qui s'appelle les Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet.
Donc c'est l'occasion, Blue Velvet, que vous nous expliquiez un petit peu l'origine de ce nom et que vous nous présentiez un petit peu votre groupe, le projet. J'en profite juste pour mettre le starter, c'est 5 minutes. Interview en 5 minutes. Top chrono, c'est parti.
Attends, c'est chaud.
Donc,
les résonances, attends, c'est chaud. Derrière.
Ok,
on est bonne.
Alors, Blue Velvet.
Alors, pourquoi Blue Velvet? Tout est dit. Velvet, parce que c'est le sexe de la femme. et que donc on revendique complètement la liberté d'expression de la femme. Et pour ce faire, eh ben, on va aller justement rencontrer les tabous et repousser toujours plus loin la possibilité de s'exprimer.
D'accord. Comme un groupe de punk, quoi.
C'est ça.
Voilà. Super.
Comme
réaction.
C'est pourquoi deux aussi, parce qu'on est très différentes. On est très différentes. Tout physiquement, dans l'âge, dans la façon aussi de penser. Donc c'est important aussi d'avoir des choses à dire en commun. Cette richesse-là aussi, être différente.
Sur un même sujet.
C'est ça.
C'est-à-dire qu'on a les mêmes chiffres dans l'âge, mais un commence par 2 et 5 et l'autre commence par 5 et 2.
Ça va pas durer très longtemps.
Non, ça va pas durer malheureusement.
Mais bon, c'est bien quand même.
Et c'est génial parce que voilà, on est complètement en raccord par rapport à notre rencontre artistique et en même temps, ça donne quelque chose de la femme à travers les âges aussi, qui se rencontre et qui s'adapte et qui s'éclate. C'est génial, quoi.
Super. Alors, si j'ai bien compris un peu ce qui s'est passé, donc, parce que là, on fait cette interview puisqu'on est dans le cadre du Chicago Paris Cabaret Connexion. Donc l'idée, c'est de faire le lien un peu entre vous, artistes invités de cette semaine d'ateliers, de concerts, d'échanges, de tables rondes, etc. Si j'ai bien compris tout ce qui a été dit dans les discussions, donc le cabaret, c'est aussi un espace traditionnellement d'expression justement engagée, donc un peu comme vous, dans ce que vous venez de nous dire, donc contestataire. Est-ce que vous définiriez comme artiste de cabaret? Moi, j'ai vu votre performance et c'est vrai que dans le mélange, la pluridisciplinarité de ce que vous offrez, entre un côté un peu cirque, un côté un peu danse, la musique, le rapport de proximité avec le public, vous remplissez absolument tous les critères du cabaret. Est-ce que vous vous sentez artiste de cabaret? Est-ce que vous revendiquez cette appellation ou pas?
Franchement, ouais.
Ok.
Pour moi, ouais. Avant, le cabaret, pour moi, c'était... Coralie m'en parlait, en fait, oui, mais c'est du cabaret ce qu'on fait. Je repoussais un peu ça parce que je connaissais pas. Je connaissais d'une certaine façon et ça me plaisait pas. Et du coup, me dire que ce qu'on fait, c'est du cabaret, oui, ça rentre complètement dans le cabaret. Et c'est trop génial.
Ouais.
Ah, complètement.
Donc t'es passé d'un état où finalement le cabaret, tu trouvais ça un peu ringard.
Complètement.
Ce qu'on a entendu, apparemment, ça arrive aussi à Londres, il y a cette même situation, ce que disait Paul l'autre jour. Ouais. Et que finalement, toi maintenant, tu revendiques cette expression-là, ce genre artistique.
Et je vais à la recherche même d'autres formes de cabaret qui me plaisent énormément. Je me dis, ça c'est du cabaret aussi. C'est génial, carrément.
Super, très intéressant. Et toi, Coralie?
Alors, t'as vu que je suis ventriloque aussi?
Ouais.
Ça, c'est le cabaret aussi.
C'est aussi le
la
cabaret.
ventriloquie, c'est super important.
Vous êtes des femmes de talent, c'est sûr.
Eh bien, en fait, oui, j'ai pas écouté ce que disait Sabrina, mais oui, je suis d'accord, on fait du cabaret. Et on est issu, en fait, dans notre rencontre, on est issu du théâtre. Et ce qu'on rencontre avec la connexion Paris-Chicago, c'est qu'on va plus loin en fait, dans la maîtrise de toutes les techniques et toutes les richesses qu'on peut rencontrer en plus avec le travail des Américains, qui est un univers qu'on découvre. Et donc ça nous apporte un autre regard, extrêmement passionnant, parce que on est vraiment autodidacte, donc on a le feeling de beaucoup de choses et on est hyper interactive avec le public. Et en fait, on s'aperçoit qu'en leur posant des questions, on a des réponses nouvelles qui nous bluffent. Et là, moi, j'en ai eu vraiment des moments, des frissons. Je me disais, je pensais être bloquée ou je pensais même pas qu'il y ait quelque chose derrière cette limite-là. Et en fait, on est allé encore derrière des choses pour lesquelles on se disait, bon, là, on maîtrise, nous, on est allé encore plus loin.
Ok,
je suis ravie.
Donc, c'est parfait parce que c'était la question que j'allais vous demander. Quel est l'enseignement ou en tout cas le truc un peu spécial que vous retiendrez de cette semaine? Donc, toi, tu as vraiment senti qu'il y avait une différence d'approche dans le cabaret américain par rapport au cabaret français, ou en tout cas cette façon de penser?
Oui, il y a des regards différents qui nous ont interpellés, qui m'ont interpellée, qui m'intéressent et que je vais utiliser dans un travail où on va se remettre au boulot sur certains points dans notre interaction scénique. Parce que là, on se dit qu'il y a des pistes, on peut aller encore vers d'autres choses. On est hyper interactif avec le public et en fait, on a aussi un jeu à découvrir, à approfondir ensemble. Qui vient du clown et je sens vraiment que dans le clown je le possède déjà mais que j'ai envie de le donner aussi au Blue Velvet.
Super. Mais par exemple, si tu devais nous raconter ou c'est toi, tu devais nous raconter une anecdote de cette semaine, très précisément, ce serait quoi la chose que vous retiendriez?
Moi, c'est le moment avec Paul.
D'accord.
C'était donc hier.
Ouais.
Et
Paul qui est un magnifique artiste burlesque de la scène londonienne.
Et du coup, en fait, on a fait notre chanson, Les Salopes, on les avait fait la veille sur scène, ça s'est bien passé, comme d'habitude. On l'a fait, et en fait, j'étais pas du tout contente de moi, et je l'ai vu dans ses yeux. Et du coup, en fait, il nous a vraiment posé la question, mais pourquoi deux? Pourquoi vous êtes deux? Et en fait, on lui a répondu, oui, parce que voilà, on est différentes, nanana, ce qu'on vient de dire, ce qui est normal pour nous. Et il nous a dit, mais on ne voit pas en fait ça sur scène. On ne l'a pas vu dans cette chanson. Votre différence, si c'est votre force, allez-y quoi. Et là, il nous a mis dans des situations complètement opposées. Mais putain, on l'a jamais fait ça.
Ah, super.
Mais parce qu'en fait,
l'a jamais
même
fait.
si on est différentes, on est hyper
jamais,
d'accord sur défoncer les tabous et tout ça, c'est ce qu'on veut faire. Donc on est hyper d'accord sur le fil rouge de notre spectacle. Et en fait, il nous a mis dans des positions où il y en a une qui dit oui, l'autre qui dit non, ou l'autre qui est blasée et l'autre qui est super motivée. Et du coup, on en a joué la même chanson, mais en investissant, du coup, en endossant des personnages avec ces émotions différentes. Et ça donne un jeu fabuleux au texte, quoi.
Super.
Voilà,
super.
donc ça, c'était très riche pour moi.
On repartait avec un cadeau.
Avec un
J'entends
cadeau.
le téléphone, ça y est, nos 5 minutes sont arrivées au bout. Donc on peut dire que c'est pas mal. Oui, on peut. Est-ce que vous voudriez ajouter un mot de fin pour parler de cette connexion, parler de ce cabaret? Est-ce que il a beaucoup été question du futur du cabaret toute cette semaine? Parler de vous, de ce que vous aurez gardé comme souvenir de cette scène à Chicago. C'était votre première fois aux États-Unis, je crois, non? C'est ça?
Ah oui.
Donc voilà, ce serait quoi votre mot de la fin?
Un rêve, voilà, l'imaginaire qui devient réalité. Et le cabaret, c'est aussi un endroit d'expression. Et il ne faut pas penser que c'est quelque chose de désuet, même si on honore vraiment nos anciens et qu'on aime les précédents, de ce qu'on a découvert grâce au cabaret d'autres fois. Aujourd'hui, on sait aussi le réinventer durant tous les jours.
Moi, je pense juste un mot, différence. Différence, c'est donc porteur de plein de choses, quoi, une différence.
Ok. La richesse de la différence. Ouais. Ok. Merci les Blue Velvet.
Au fait, CD, notre petit album.
CD, l'album.
Et donc, le recueil de poésie que j'ai écrit, dont tous les textes des Blue Velvet sont dedans. Et donc, il y a des petits textes qui sont sympas, comme à 15 ans, j'avais déjà ce cul rond. Rond comme un réverbère qui s'éclairait la nuit d'une intense lumière. Ça fait rêver.
Voilà.
I'm Carla Gordon, and I am a cabaret-obsessed nerd. I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I'm a producer, director. I serve on the board of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. This is my art. I get to write things for singers. Well, just last night, a singer performed a parody that I wrote. She did a show about overcoming breast cancer, and I wrote a comedy song for her about medical marijuana, and it just brought comedy into that very, very serious show. This art is so remarkable. It's about the words, it's about the truth, and then music just elevates it and takes it to a higher place. Someone who really made me connect to this art was B. Arthur. I thought to sing in cabaret, you had to have one of those classic soprano voices. And there was B. Arthur sitting in a chair in her flip-flop shoes, just reaching us in the most personal and magical way. And then I knew this art was for me. So today's Cabaret Connexion opening night has been, the opening day, now coming into the opening night, has been so remarkable because we are coming together, both the French community and our very, very vibrant Chicago cabaret community, making art together, exploring art together, and seeing where we're going to travel this week.
And you're from Chicago
I am a
originally.
Chicago. I'm a South Side girl. I'm from the South Side of Chicago. I'm just like Bad Leroy Brown. I'm meaner than a junkyard dog.
And also, you have a friendship with Alex Rybeck.
I have
so
a
how did
friendship
you
with
guys
Alex
meet?
Rybeck. The very first cabaret conference that I attended, which was the creation of the real pioneer in cabaret education, Rybeck. When I was at this concert, I was just starting in cabaret. In this conference, I was just starting in cabaret. I did an original song called "The Voice in Your Heart," and walking home from our show, Mr. Alex Rybeck said to me, "Carla Gordon, someday you are going to write a standard." And for the next 6 months, I floated on air.
Carla, do you have a line from that song that you could say, or a lyric? I mean,
Hear the truth, it's simple. Life's not abstract art. Listen carefully. Hear what you can't see. Hear the music there inside your heart.
it's beautiful. I love it. And so you work for Cabaret Scenes magazine.
I'm the Chicago correspondent for Cabaret Scenes.
And can you tell me a little bit about what that's like and what?
Well, this comes back to my time with Alex. When I was at Yale in '06, they were kind of dismissive about Chicago. They thought there was only one good club and one good performer. And that made me a little angry. And I said, that's not our community. Our community is so alive. And I started writing reviews and then feature articles to let the big cabaret world know what talent and what energy we have in our Chicago community. It's remarkable.
And I'm sorry, I just lost my thought. I was going to ask you about how you met Claudia. I'm sorry.
Well, I met Claudia through the Chicago cabaret community. We had at times served simultaneously on the board of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. My song, "The Voice in Your Heart," I wrote after 9/11. Someone came to me after 9/11 and said, we're cooked, we're over. Our civilization is over. And I said, that's wrong, because we can all go inside ourselves and find our own personal character. We have to listen to our own voice. And that was my first serious song that wasn't a comedy song.
And can you, what do you think of the future is for cabaret, or even specifically Chicago cabaret?
I think in Chicago, cabaret is alive and well. I think it's thriving. We have a new generation of folks who are a generation younger than I am, who are talented, who are studying, and we'll watch them soar. And for us old-timers, we're making the art with joy and connection to the great American songbook and open arms to new ideas and new songs.
And do you have any of your comedy lyrics? It's a particular favorite?
Well, about a year ago, after watching the news, I wrote a song called "Alternative Fact," which has just about every lie in the world. And I sing like Barbra Streisand. I've got Beyonce's hair. I swim like Michael Phelps, and I can glide like Fred Astaire. Now, I would never lie to you, so everyone relax. Everything I say is true. They're just alternative facts. And I got to write that with wonderful Michèle Barbier out of California, and that was a great honor, and she gave a great bouncy melody to that comedy song.
Do you have somebody that you collaborate with on a regular basis, or do you work with different?
For the past 9 years, I've written mostly serious music with a composer named Wayne Richards. But for comedy, I've written with Michèle, with Becky Menzie, and I just performed at our cabaret gala at the Park West, where we had 400 guests, a song that I wrote with Shelley Markham called "I Choose You to Be My Family." And I wrote it thinking ballad, and when I sent him the lyric and we met, he said, "No, it's got a swing." And he wrote this terrific jazz swing, and the song has so much life, and I'm really pleased with collaborating with Cheryl and Markham.
Can I hear a little line from that as well?
You can't choose your mother, you can't choose your dad, or your baby brother, you always wish you had. Even though our DNA doesn't quite agree, I choose you to be my family.